Namaskaram, namaskaram. Yet again, the conversation of preservation, conservation, and of course, more importantly, something that's very close to your heart about saving soil. Sadhguruji, you are at Baku in Azerbaijan. There is the COP29 summit. Is the world waking up to this reality, the need to protect and save soil?
Oh, waking up it's a deep slumber, it doesn't go away so simply. Unfortunately, most human beings are in a condition that they usually wait for a massive disaster to happen. I hope we don't take it in that direction because as per all agencies and various other independent studies, everything suggests we have only 40 to 50 harvests left on the planet. So that means we really have no plan for our children. So if we go there, then recovering from that will take a long time. This is a time to change. Some changes are happening since we started Save Soil. While European nations have started formulating soil policies. In India, already there's a recommendation for all the states, but because so many different political parties are ruling different states, there is a certain slow action, but beginning to happen. Unfortunately, most people even now in the core segments don't understand soil is a living mechanism. It is the largest living system, not just on the planet, in the whole universe that we know of. It has trillions of species and whatever, but that is dying. In many ways, we are heading towards soil extinction. Well, there is still room in the next 10, 15 years. If we do something significant, it'll turn around quite quickly, especially in tropical countries. Considering our weather, it'll turn around pretty quickly. It's just that we have to get them to do it. We have to make it into an election issue that people should ask for it. This needs to be done. So that's why we are moving large forces. As you know, during Save Soil in 100 days, we touched 3.9 billion people. Since then, it's crossed well over 4.5 billion people have been supporting us at various levels. So people have taken note of it. Now, in COP29, after not even finding a mention, today the theme is in solidarity for a green world. This is about soil. So from oil to soil, narrative has shifted, focus and money has to shift, because 54% of the world's population still has their hands in the soil on a daily basis because they're all small farmers. So if we invest in this direction, right away, over 50% of the world's population's life will change. Migration can be stopped very easily. If you improve the soil quality, why will people leave their homelands and go to some strange place and struggle? So there are many advantages to this. Above all, the biodiversity loss that's happening at a tremendous pace will be significantly stemmed if we raise the soil organic content to minimum 3 to 6%, which is very doable in a matter of 3 to 6 years' time. Almost entire world can do it if only the needed policy changes happen and the necessary incentives are back it up. So in terms of investments, whatever they're talking about, hundreds of billions of dollars, or now over $1 trillion, whatever they're talking, 10% of that would do this job for soil.
But Sadhguru, there is a change in disposition in America. Last time this happened, there was a huge upheaval with the entire climate convention. How is that going to affect?
Nobody is going to completely ignore the climate aspects. It's just in the political rhetoric because one side pushes it too much, excessive pushing happens, and all that happens is money flows into all these startups which talk about variety of technologies, how to grow turnips on the wall of your house. There's a big technology going on. How to grow everything without soil, just in the water. This is all wasteful. There is enough soil and there's enough land in the world if we just improve that quality. Everybody need not be thinking of how to grow this and that in all kinds of ways. It is not necessary. Above all, soil is life. There is no two ways about it. The very body that we carry is soil. So we want to do our body with something else other than soil is a very silly idea. But these things find kind of some kind of currency in the societies and goes on. I think in a way this reaction of saying, stop all this conversation and let's see what to do is important, because only when a society is doing well, economically well, they can really invest in these things. When people are struggling for basic things, nobody is going to talk about, environment. This is very important, people should understand this, especially a society like United States. Only if people are happy with their day-to-day lives and, things are affordable, then you can ask them to invest in ecological concerns. So never pit ecology and economy against each other, because ecology will lose, economy will be hands down. It's very, very important they partner up, not
Hmm.
against each other. So this whole activism in the world has been against economic development, which is not going to work. Because in a democratically elected nation, any kind of government, anywhere in the world, if any leader talks about, please, all of you, lower your living standards, that guy's gone.
Yeah,
Let's be straight about this. So
true.
nobody can talk about reducing human aspirations. Then how do you do it? Only technological innovations. So things that you can do, you're not doing. When I say 37 to 40% of the thing can be solved just by enhancing the soil quality, why can't we do that? And it'll enhance the lives of over 54% of the population immediately, because they are with the
Hmm.
soil. Instead of doing that, we are going roundabout ways as if we're going to find a solution to replace hydrocarbons tomorrow morning. It's not going to happen. With all this big talk about solar, wind and everything, which we must do, I'm not against those things, they are very, very important. They must be done. But still they're contributing less than 3% of the energy requirement on the planet, so we better
Hmm.
come to our reality.
Can AI tech help, and how?
In
Would you
analysis,
would you encourage would you encourage youngsters in our country to look at this as an aspect where perhaps technology can help, AI can help improve soil quality, life, or even yield?
let me put this very simply, Anand. There is life. How does life happen? According to scientists, they are saying about 1 billion years ago, I don't know the time, but they say it's billion years ago, some very smart fungi or algae figured it out as to how to cook their food with solar energy. Today we call that process as photosynthesis, which is the basis of all life on the planet. But in the last 1,000 years, we have removed 85% of the photosynthesis on the planet. That means we don't have a plan for life. Everything that's life is rooted in this one aspect, that's photosynthesis, for which we need a green leaf. So, right now when we say organisms in the soil, which are in trillions, in species, not in numbers. In
Hmm.
numbers, I don't think we can even figure what's the number. There are trillions of species, that's what they're talking about. So when that is the case, the only food that they can eat, what they consume has to be organic. Though we are feeding lot of plastic, they are not able to eat that. They can only eat organic material. So where will organic material come from? AI, Mars, now a lot of focus is on Uranus, can we get it from there? No. There are only two fundamental sources of organic material, plant life and animal life. So there
Animal
needs
life.
to be trees and animals. So just see all the major farms on the planet. Where is a tree, where is an animal? All machines. Well,
Hmm.
tractor may plow the land, but it doesn't shit. We need to understand that. We need to understand that nature is a cycle. If you break one cycle, then the other things will naturally start collapsing one by one. Fortunately, it's resilient enough to survive whatever cycles we break for 25, 50 years or more before it starts showing signs upon us. But this slow wreck, unfortunately, we're missing the point. If it went bang, bad, then probably we would notice it. But people are not noticing it, but you can't just sit here and not notice it anymore, because the minimum organic content that is necessary to call soil as soil is 3%. 3 to 6% is good. The shame is not a single nation on the planet has averaged 3%. The highest you find in northwestern part of Europe, because they use their land only 3 to 4 months in a year, is 2.4%. Southern Europe is 1.1%, United States is
Hmm.
1.25%, India is 0.62%, Africa is 0.03%. It's death, it's
Wow.
desertification. You must look it up, and if you can put it on your television, please put up this uh, snapshot. 2003, first Google Maps are there. Now it's 2024. In these 20 years, just look at the Google map of the planet. How much brown is there? Well, how much brown was there then? How much brown is there now? This is desertification. This is significant. Every 25 years, we are losing about 10% of the land.
So are we looking at an impending food crisis? Because currently, especially in Bharat, the conversation is that we are having bumper yields. So much so that we are able to provide food security for the next 5 years because the yields are such. Is this a temporary phase? Are we looking at extreme desertification or food shortage in the next decade?
See, the very cycles of drought and flood that you're seeing is a clear indication. It is almost certain, if you see a flood, within 3 to 4 months, there's going to be a drought in the same place. People think these two things are different. No, this is a natural cycle. If there is a flood, there's going to be a drought. What a flood means is, water did not percolate into the earth, it just traveled on the surface. That means there is going to be a drought. There's no two ways about it. So bumper crops we may be having, because still tropical lands are very resilient, they're capable of multiplying. And we must also not look just at the crop, we must look at the nourishment value. Where is it? Nourishment
Hmm.
values have dropped significantly. Significantly means very significantly. There are not enough studies elsewhere to talk about it very clearly, but for example, if you ate an orange in California in 1920s, how much nourishment it would give you. If you want to get the same thing today, you need to eat 8 oranges. When was the last time you ate 8 oranges, Anand? If you had, you would have been orange by now. That would be
True.
So, nourishment values have dropped significantly, almost 80% drop across the world, particularly in vegetables and fruits. And cereals are more resilient, but they are also dropping significantly, especially in wheat. The
Hmm.
nourishment values have dropped very badly. So, when you say a ton of food, we must also see how it translates into human life, isn't it? That is
Yes.
nourishment. So if you take it that way, what was 1 ton maybe 30, 40 years ago, today is probably just about 200, 250 kilograms.
Hmm. In terms of, okay, yield and nourishment,
Yeah,
but
and you can't eat that much more. You can't
correct,
eat 80% more to get nourishment. You will get various problems if you eat like that.
correct. But are we moving in the right direction? You said political discourse or political dispositions across various states, and that's put paid to perhaps a policy towards soil conservation and a certain level of protecting.
I'm first of all waiting for this law, one nation, one election, because just about any time, everybody is in election. This needs
Yeah,
to change. Otherwise, even with best intentions, they can't do much. After all, a democratically, people who are in the political process in a democratic nation have to fight an election successfully. You can't blame them. When you have a system
hmm,
like this, throughout the 5 years, there's some election going on, strategizing for it, campaigning for it, winning it, and then celebrating it. By then, by the time celebration's over, next election is happening somewhere else and somewhere else. This has to go. In a country like ours, where 1.5 billion people and our nearly 50% of our soil is gone, it's a dangerous proposition, what we have in front of us. If
hmm,
food systems start collapsing, fortunately for us, this is something that there is no scientific explanation for this. The maximum number of species found in a handful of soil is highest in the Deccan Plateau. We don't know why. It just
Hmm.
nourished. And maybe this is the reason that somehow people arrange themselves from wherever they came and however they came, that we have 15, 20,000 years of, established civilization. Maybe because of that, because the land was so rich and it was a natural place for us to farm and civilize ourselves. And when people live in one
Yes.
place, being nomads, that's when civilizations develop. So that happened to us probably because of this extraordinary quality of our soil, but we shouldn't take it for granted for good.
Hmm. But you believe one nation, one poll, how will it solve it? Because you said political parties themselves have a
Yes,
different
at least
approach towards
you
soil.
can at least
This is
talk to
something
the
important to
political
all of us.
We can even to talk to the political leaders. How can you talk to them when they are in an election mode? Election mode means you have to put some blinkers on and say whatever works for the election. What works in an election need not necessarily work for long-term well-being of the nation.
Hmm.
Election
Finally, my
cycle, election cycle should be for short periods of time. It's an inevitable part of democratic process. But all the time elections is definitely hurting the country.
final question. You say this policy, if it comes, will help Bharat. How will it do that?
See, right now, the simple thing is this. For example, you're living in where? Mumbai, Delhi, where are you?
I'm in Noida.
Okay. Now if you look at old Delhi, people have built homes wall to wall. There's no concept of a window because there were no laws, they just built. But today if you want to build a home, well, if you have 10,000 square feet of land, they will allow you 6, 7, whatever is the law, local law. Accordingly, they'll allow you. If you build more, people will come and demolish it. This is the nature of the law. But suppose you have 10 acres of land and you take it upon yourself in the next 10 years, you turn it into a desert, nobody will ask you. See, when we say policy, we're talking about making some rules as to how to conduct agricultural soils. See, now you have… you're living in a big city and there are urban laws. But if you go back to the old part of any city, you will see people have built homes wall to wall. There's no concept of a window. Simply they built whichever way they liked. But today if you want to build, there are laws. If you break those laws and build whatever you want, they will come and demolish it. But if you have 10 acres of agricultural land, you take it upon yourself in the next 5, 10 years' time, you will make a desert out of it. You make soil into sand. Because if you take off all the organic content, soil will become sand. So if you do that, nobody will ask you, no authority in the country will ask you because there is no law. You've taken it for granted. So I'm saying if you have agricultural land, there has to be a law. Minimum 3% organic content should be there because land and soil are not our property.
Hmm.
It is a legacy that's come to us from previous generations and we have to pass it on that way to future generations. If this has to happen, there has to be a law.
Hmm.
And initially by inspiration, then by incentives, after maybe 10 years later, a punitive action if necessary, but it's needed. Otherwise, there'll be no agricultural land left anywhere. Right now in India, this is a very unfortunate reality because of the kind of economics that around agricultural produce is… we've done some surveys, it's not absolute, but some kind of picture we have. Not even 2% of the farmers want their children to become farmers. Their children are already gone.
Yeah.
Maybe you're one of them. I don't know.
No.
I'm saying most of the people from the villages, their young people are gone, they got educated because the kind of education that they receive is of no use in the village, it can only go to the city or to some other country. They are all gone. They may be doing well, personal economics may be doing well for them, but their parents, it's an end game. They're just waiting for real estate values to rise and you tell them anything, they're not interested because in another 10 years, they have to manage this, after that it's over for them. So agricultural land and agriculture as a process could be severely hit. We still have 50+% in agriculture. This is the time to turn it around and make it a lucrative process. If farm has to become a lucrative process, It is a no-brainer. Everybody must understand, without rich soil, farming is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Is there any… People will ask, do you have a PhD in soil sciences? You don't need PhD in soil sciences. You ask a worm, it'll tell you that
Yeah.
without rich soil, agriculture is a heartbreaking process. Right now, that's why we have taken our farmer. So rich soil means it's rich with life, microorganisms. Because microorganism is not just about agriculture, it is the foundational life. For you and me, for dogs and cats, for this and that, for everything and everything, the foundational life is microorganisms. Their numbers and the number of species is dropping at an alarming pace because
Yeah.
they're being starved to death. They don't have material to eat. What can they eat? They can only eat plant material or animal waste. Both are missing on the farm.
You make a fair point, Sadhguru. Let's hope one nation, one poll happens, some awakening about the policy and politics happens, and the discourse itself changes. And elections are now then decided not on anything else but the fact that who's got a better plan for the planet.
Who's got a better plan for the future generations? This is important. But for all this to happen, the present generation should be enjoying a certain level of economic comfort. Only then we can talk to them. When they are
Correct.
struggling for daily bread, you cannot talk to them about tomorrow, you know?
True. Fair point.
So these
Sadhguru,
are
always a
all…
pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah,
True,
thank
sir.
you.
Please
These are
complete.
all…
Please come. Please.
These are all so connected and linked. People try to handle everything separately. No. Economic well-being, education, farming, soil quality, all these things are connected. They are not separate. If you handle one thing and not do the other, and our education system is very not village-oriented at all. Your education is of no use in a village. You have to move. It is expected 220 million people will migrate in India to urban centers in the next 10 years. Which city is competent to handle that kind of numbers? If you want to stem this flow, the most important thing is you have to make agriculture a lucrative process. If you have to do that, you need rich soil. Let's make it happen.
Let's hope so we do, this generation. Thank you, sir. Namaskaram. Always a pleasure speaking.